This is a small river that I built inside an aquarium. Lately, I realized that every time I sit down to enjoy my coffee, my only companion is a glowing phone screen, and it no longer feels relaxing. So I thought, what if my companion was something truly alive, right here on my desk? I built it completely from scratch. At the end of this journey, I just want to know, can something this simple bring a sense of peace that endless smartphone scrolling never could? It all started at this desk, a place usually crowded with coffee gear and digital noise, now cleared out for something new. I began with a few pieces of reclaimed glass, cutting them down to the exact dimensions. Each edge was carefully smoothed out, making sure no sharp corners remained. One by one, the glass pieces came together, forming a simple tank. And after that, all I could do was wait, letting the silicone cure completely before moving on to the next step. The next day, I headed to a massive Aquascape warehouse to source the Hardscape stones for the foundation of the small river. Hundreds of stones were stacked in front of me, making it difficult to decide which ones to choose. Among all of them, I finally found river stones with a dominant, earthy brown tone. I picked several stones with similar colors and characteristics, so the entire composition would feel naturally connected. Once I had all the stones, the next process immediately began. One by one, the stones were carefully arranged inside the tank, forming the edges of the small river. To fill the gaps and secure the rock structure, I used Aquascape foam, a material that expands and hardens while following the shape of the spaces between the stones. A few hours later, after the foam had completely cured, I began adding natural soil behind the rock structure. Then the plants were placed randomly and not too neatly, following the natural patterns often found along wild riverbanks. I installed an under-gravel filter, then covered it with a layer of fine sand that would act as both a substrate and part of the filtration system. Several additional stones were then placed back on top of the sand, adding the final details to recreate a more natural riverbed. And now, it was finally time to flood the tank. Slowly, the tank began to fill. Moments after the filter pump was turned on, for the very first time, water started flowing inside this small river. To help the ecosystem begin developing properly, I also added a nitrifying bacteria starter, helping kickstart the nitrogen cycle inside the tank. As a final touch, the aquarium glass was cleaned to remove any remaining marks and water splashes. And now, the only thing left to do is wait. Wait for the next few days, as this small river slowly begins to find its own balance. Several days have passed, and slowly, this small river aquarium begins to find its balance. Under the glow of the overhead light, the plants that once withered are now returning to life, recovering after several days of adaptation. The water, once cloudy and unsettled, has gradually turned clear, revealing every detail of the stones and sand resting at the bottom of this small aquatic world. Behind the shifting shadows of the flowing current, small silhouettes occasionally pass by, swift and fleeting. These are the fish, introduced into this ecosystem just a few days ago. Now, they are beginning to explore with confidence, venturing into every corner of this small river, moving between the rocks, following the current, before disappearing again into the flowing shadows. And slowly, the entire space begins to feel more alive. The rain had just stopped. The sound of pattering drops that filled the room moments ago slowly faded away, replaced by the gentle murmur of this small river. I approached it, holding a warm cup of coffee. From the very beginning, I didn't build this stream just to be a desk ornament. This tiny place was created to accompany my coffee, and to slowly break away from the habit of staring at a smartphone screen for too long. The night air felt cool after the rain, and for some reason, the water flowing inside felt cold too, just like a real stream flowing in the wild. Along the water's edge, I planted a few small bamboo stalks. I chose bamboo because it almost always grows by the wild riversides. Its presence makes the whole atmosphere feel more authentic. Among the rocks, I also introduced wild-looking plants. They don't grow too neatly, looking as if they sprouted on their own on a riverbank rarely touched by humans. I pulled up a chair and sat right in front of it. Sipping my warm coffee, I watched the tiny life moving continuously inside. For this small stream, I chose fish that are commonly found in fast-flowing rivers. Fish that are rarely considered attractive enough for a regular aquarium. But that is exactly why I chose them. I wanted the atmosphere to feel completely honest and real. They aren't expensive, exotic fish, yet their movements feel so natural, as if they brought a small piece of the wild river right into this room. A moment later, I picked up a few pellets for them. At first, everything was peaceful. The current flowed gently, and the small fish was still swimming casually, following the river's rhythm. But the moment the first pellet broke the surface, that peace instantly shattered. The fish that was scattered moments ago suddenly dashed toward the food. They snapped at the pellets with quick, spontaneous agility. I tried dropping the pellets one by one, and honestly, that's where the fun begins. Every tiny grain hitting the water was instantly met with the swift movements of these river dwellers. Some caught the food first, while others swam hard against the current, chasing the pellets drifting away. Watching all of this somehow brought a deep sense of calm. Not because this aquarium looks luxurious, not because it's filled with rare fish, but because the entire microlife inside feels so incredibly real. There is a current that keeps flowing, plants growing wildly on the banks, small fish busy swimming without rest, and the sound of splashing water that keeps accompanying the night. And without realizing it, since sitting in front of this small stream, my hand hasn't once reached for the smartphone that is usually always by my side. In the end, I realized something. This small river didn't just pull me away from my smartphone screen. It quietly brought back a sense of peace my mind hadn't felt in a very long time.